Yes, chat. You did read the title correctly. Today we are playing a game I played a long time ago in my childhood. Well, yeah, you could say in my childhood. Because that's where I played it pretty much around the mod for Half-Life. We are playing Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. I'm gonna feel old playing this, but this is the Ultra Deluxe edition, so it's different than the actual version. Here, for my other viewers. Yes, yes I have. Computer is barely visible. Set it a bit higher for you guys. 213. That's 14. Huh. Never. The end is never the.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
At least he was happy in the end. That's
And
all
then
that matters.
one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
I should probably please don't touch anything.
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment.
You're right, I don't.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Is it bad I don't know my left or rights? Okay, I think I go to the left.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Nah.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
I have all the reason to still be here. I'm isolated.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
I'm doing sweet FA.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Downstairs.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar.
Yeah.
They were simply repeating. No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Oh.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was described.
Wait, hold up, hold up. Alright.
Itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
And as we'll go up in the same spot.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I'm real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
What?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Oh.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh, did I like mess it up and complete it? Okay, hold on. This time I'll listen.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
There we go.
Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. Not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Be rich is crime. To commit crimes isn't it rich? What a life would be to have picked just one real. And boss man isn't here.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
What in the portal?
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word Escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Yes. Alright, let's see, I'm turning back.
But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for.
Button!
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
I was just binary code on that. Just binary code.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
I forget which room we are. Oh well.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That
There was
his
the base punch
emotions
logo.
had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible?
No.
Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Yes.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all. And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Hang on. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back.
blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
No, he didn't beat it. We didn't
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single
420!
difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
I hate Monday. Real.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
I don't know, sir.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers.
Yes.
After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over.
I hope
Please
so.
step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Alright.
Oh, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here?
I don't know.
Should we be moving somewhere or... oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right.
Jump.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Is the moment in history.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
That's it.
Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content?
Yes.
If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there.
No.
Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait, there's more.
Yes.
Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore."
Is it
What
actually?
quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable.
It does. There actually is.
It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Okay. The achievements to not play this game for 10 years.
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! Oh,
Alright, fine.
you don't want to see the cool surprise I made? Oh, never mind. You're not a dog.
Something new. I'll take it.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me
Yes.
thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it.
Elden Ring?
Just our little secret. Take a look. I call it the Memory Zone.
It's not
where
Elden
I've
Ring.
been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Yep, remember that. Don't forget, Stanley Parable. It's not my actual time. Oh, wait, isn't that when the game launched? I don't know. The first dollar she made. There's another one called Supergirl outside in this one where you don't play for 10 years. Oh, hey, the thumbnail! Sweet. It's right over there.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created. Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim. It was Persona 3. It was all of them. And now, it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
I'll wait to go on there. The game itself. I want to buy the vinyl. I think there's a vinyl for it at least.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
I love that reference. A serious room.
These were simpler times, Stanley. What I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them. Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley, I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts... Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games.
I like the narrator. I don't know why I'm doing it.
Well, there's sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks.
A year. He's just dead now.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time, I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only...
I was right. He just dies.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition.
Yes.
But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end,
Get me out of here. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. Get me out of here.
The end is never the end, is never.
Okay, yeah, let's... I can almost get out of here. I can almost get out of here. Oh my god. I keep on forgetting how random this game is sometimes. Skip! Skip again. Nope. Skip, 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 skip. Oh! Exit! Maybe I should, you know, it's broken, no. Are you kidding me?
all of his co-workers... Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement?
Yes.
Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks.
Oh, no.
Now, suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks. No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this achievement to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to
How
go
much
all
now?
the way,
100?
no matter what the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
Okay.
Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437. Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so.
New content?
Now, back to door number 437. Let's see. How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy machine? All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere. Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk. Yes! This is great! You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416.
Who the hell's 416? This way. Yeah, it's this way because... Yeah. No.
Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very...
We've almost got it! Now the copy machine, do that one again!
He's enjoying this. A little too much.
Finish it off, Stanley! 5 clicks on door 430! Yes!
Yes!
We did it!
Oh, wow. That felt amazing. Oh, you really earned it, Stanley. Nothing could hold you back. Yes, I'm very proud of how far we've come today. Just think, only a few minutes ago, you believed an achievement was worth 5 little clicks. Really, now. What were you thinking?
What the achievement said? 5 clicks. I gotta close myself. You gotta get 80. Yeah, speed run. You could speed run it. Come at me, play the Stanley Parable for the entirety of a Tuesday.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this Ultra Deluxe version has turned out to be.
To all available numbers.
Says the original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this Ultra Deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further.
Light on, light on,
which is why
light on.
I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it.
The sequel.
I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Sequels are good. Batman Arkham Asylum 2. Oh, yeah, it's Arkham City. Doom 2, Aladdin 2, Dark Souls 2. I think I'm sick, guys. Again. Shit.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Wait, what?
For the Stanley Parable
Oh, say
2,
X
I
the
asked
Water Boy.
myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now?
Yes.
If so, then please step forward and press the button.
I am Jim. I'm playing the Stanley Parable 2. I hope this button says my name.
Jim.
Whoa!
Yes,
It said
see?
my name.
What a thrill! What a rush! That was you!
Whoa!
The button described you. Do it again. Do it again.
Will it say it again?
Jim.
It hits
Whoa.
even harder the second time.
It does.
If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money.
Yeah.
Let's take a break from the gym button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
I've always loved Stanley Parable for these reasons.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
Red is the new orange. And no screenshots, I took one. Bucket! Bucket! Reassurance bucket!
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in
bucket?
those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game.
Where's the
It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You
bucket?
see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind
Bucket!
and your heart. It's true.
Guys, it's a
As
bucket!
long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution.
And a girl would be lucky to have me. Like, look at this shit.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing
I have the bucket,
despair,
I have the bucket, I have
must
the
already
bucket.
be
Holy
sweeping through
shit.
your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well?
Yes!
I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person.
Oh, yeah.
The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they?
I can feel it.
All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
I can feel it! This bucket's my power. It's my life.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Oh, it's this one. I feel so comfortable around this. Free and easy achievement.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yeah, okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
No, I'm gonna get it now. I want it now. Fine. I don't think so in that way.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
I'm not gonna go see the Infinity Hole. collectibles. Oh, it's a show. I'll take the exit. I have the bucket, that's all I want. Oh wait. Settings world champion. Hold up. It's something special. Settings world champion. Oh yeah. No! Wait, do I need, is that even, yeah it is. I like. Guys, this is absolute cinema.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. This is the story of a man named Stanley. This is the story of a man named Stanley. This is the story of a man named Stanley. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
This is an absolute cinema achievement. That's new. Oh, that's the, alright, looks like I'm not getting that achievement yet. Oh well.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley?
No.
Yes, yes, it will go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Exit. I like that whole idea. Marketing
Oh,
for Stanley
goodness,
Parable.
Stanley, this is fairly awkward. I hate to do this, but before you leave, you really should go to the collectibles exhibit. You see, there is a surprise I was going to spring on you later, and it involves the collectibles. And I really do hate to break the illusion, but it's important that you go see the collectibles, okay? All right, I'll get out of your hair now.
I'll go see them. Fine.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you're...
At least you saved me the trouble of having to
God,
wait.
it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Alright, let's get out of here. Working for Stanley Parable 2 would actually be crazy though. New mug. No screenshots? Screenshot. Bitch.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features?
Oh,
Yes, I
yeah.
know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here,
Apple
right?
hug.
It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
Can't get the bucket.
Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I
Can I
wanted
go down
more
there?
than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
He cooked with that. I can already tell it's cooked.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
No!
Stanley was... All of his co-workers were gone.
Come
What could it
on.
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Oh, please.
Oh my
Are
god.
you really
yeah,
just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that
No,
all that you
not.
think an achievement is worth? Stanley picked up the bucket.
Bucket! I have to do this every time. I'm gonna do that every time.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
Oh well.
But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling
Yes.
him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
Yes.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Sorry, Bucket.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
janitor's closet? Oh, it's over there. That's right.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever.
Yes.
Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs
My
to the
bucket.
boss's office.
Mine.
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy
Only
that sort of
imagine nothing
happiness,
better.
Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Imagine nothing better.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
I knew involved the 5.
But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
I think that whole, like, it going there.
Another miniature Stanley figurine.
Yes!
You know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs?
Oh my god.
What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
I like Stanlerines. I want Stanlerines. Let's go. No reward whatsoever.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Yes, I just keep telling myself that. I tell myself that every day.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Our room was Stanley again? 427? Right.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place?
I don't know.
These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world.
He
At
is.
this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
That's very true.
But here was the
Fortunately.
proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world.
Yes.
They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Take it down! Bring it down for real.
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth.
Okay.
Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and...
Uh-oh.
What? Wait. What was happening?
That's all supposed to happen.
Why
It's
had the
supposed to
door
open.
stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed?
No!
An
Bucket!
unbearable silence filled the room,
Bucket!
lingering in uncertainty.
Bucket,
Until
be
finally
free, man.
the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to...
Shit.
No. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket.
At least I have the
To be
bucket.
trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I?
Yes.
Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Bro.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
So there is a meeting. I did just miss the memo.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I did it this time. I actually listened to what I was told. There will be a reward. Oh. Stop kidding yourselves. No! You dick!
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
No, I won't. I'm not going through that again. That was torture. Maybe I should. I don't have the bucket. I'm going downstairs. I can't. Fuck me, okay.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Calming New Age music.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Some calming New Age music is amazing.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall,
Delectable,
Stanley would meet his violent death.
Selectable? Sounds like a lunchable.
The door behind him was not shut.
Lunchly
Stanley
just
still had
fell
every
off.
opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
So hard.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Selectable. Almost just fell. There was no Stanley collectible thingy. Thingy will Maligi the jiggy. Do the jig.
But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
I wonder if there is like a script I could access in this. Probably not, because I don't think it's their source. But you never know.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers.
Well,
The
the face
lives
punch
of so
logo's right
many
there.
individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place
Yes,
where
I am.
freedom meant nothing.
I don't have the bucket this time though. Makes me a bit upset.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true.
Just the
Had
face
Stanley
punch
really
logo.
been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Yes.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even
That
possible?
screen was messed up.
Had he
Okay.
truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Yes.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions.
What if I turn it
happy,
on?
or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place.
Wait,
and as
what
the
if
cold
I
reality of his
turn it
past
on?
began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you?
No.
After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is
Yes.
that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex.
What?
How long
No.
until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes.
Oh,
Now
dude.
this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star.
Oh,
It's
no.
your story
What did I
now.
do?
Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a
What did
shame
I
we have
do?
so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the
5-2-1.
bomb goes off.
5-2-1.
But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that?
I don't know.
You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the
What?
story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not?
Thank you.
These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed
No.
to be doing right
No, I
now?
do not.
Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Just
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley pressed the bucket upon every little thing in the office. Nothing responded to the bucket's touch, but it did little to discourage Stanley's belief in the magic of the bucket.
That's gonna get annoying.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the... This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this no? Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Don't lie. You're lying. Stop. Good words.
Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Danger. Danger everywhere. Okay.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, "No buckets past this point." Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless...
I'm sorry.
The problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket. I suppose
No,
that
I
would
thought this
explain
was a
a lot
dog.
about your behavior up to
Look,
this point.
barking.
Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket.
I dropped the
Please,
bucket.
step in here for a moment.
Is it gonna teach me what isn't a bucket?
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket.
So that's a bucket.
Simply
That's
enough, right?
what is in my
This
hands.
should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
Yes. It looks like that.
Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
What?
Item
What?
2. Is this a bucket? Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 3. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is a bucket.
I knew it.
Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's an enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one.
What? It holds things.
Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Correct. This is a bucket. Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
Was it a bucket that's not a bucket?
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless... Is that what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. and yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is?
Oh my
An
god,
article,
this hurts
a
my head.
bucket. Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with.
Oh my god.
I'm
this
afraid
game's
the
getting dark.
bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I
What?
can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all
No,
buckets
no,
from the
no,
game
no,
entirely.
no, no.
Okay, here we go.
No! My bucket!
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not
What?
buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what,
Yeah, we don't.
I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay?
Thank you.
And we'll
Oh.
know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that.
Yeah.
Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
I'm gonna say that to a person. We're all buckets, guys.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
That gets really annoying. I'm not doing that.
Stanley went around touching. The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Somewhere red and blue.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it?
Yeah.
The broom closet. It wants the
No.
bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's coming to a
Stairs.
Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Yes!
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think,
I like
Stanley?
Figlies.
What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness
I
that
like
you
Figlies.
get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
It's enjoyable. I don't know how to count. It's teaching me how to count.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive
Oh my
economy,
God, wait, why did
had
I
he
do
taken
this?
that risk? All
Wait.
because he believed everyone
No.
had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy.
No.
And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket.
No!
Someone else's bucket, perhaps.
No!
I end up with someone else's bucket. This is all terribly wrong.
No!
Surely no good would come from this. Who
Get rid of
knows
it!
What sorts of bizarre hallucinations
Run
Stanley would
away,
experience
Stanley!
without the psychologically grounding presence of his
It's not
bucket.
your bucket.
And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious,
Oh, God.
he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad.
Yeah.
Where is it? I must
No.
find it.
I need my
Far off
bucket.
in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Bucket!
Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket!
The bucket!
Could it truly be? He rushed forward
No.
from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special
I knew it.
bucket.
Come to me, Stanley! Find me!
He had to find the bucket. He
Where
had
are
to
you?
return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Maybe the bucket were the friends he made along the way.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She
With a bucket.
rose, got dressed, picked
Yes!
up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Oh my god. What is this game? And why do I currently have an hour on it? Over an hour.
Good morning. Thank you for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation. We are confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify that this is correct?
Yes.
Excellent. Your order will arrive shortly. Thank you again for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation.
I need that to be happy. I need boxes in my life.
Warmth spread through Stanley's arms.
Bucket!
With the bucket in his arms again, he was
Yes! My bucket!
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
So somewhere red and blue, a large room, lots of boxes. I'm getting there.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of coming to a staircase. Stanley and the
my
bucket
bucket,
walked upstairs
bitch.
to the boss's office.
But I'm looking for somewhere both red and blue. Oh. Oh. Finally, this elevator works. Yes. This is where this music came from. Stanley. This is a jam. Bum bum bum. Alright, fine.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him?
The bucket knew the code.
This is certainly the most logical explanation.
The bucket knew the code. It's not me. Fuck you. Except I gotta go without the bucket. I don't wanna, because I love bucket. I have to jump down the hole.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
I have to jump down the hole. Hole of death.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
No.
At this point,
Jumping.
Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking
Open
forward into a
sesame.
very painful death for each of them.
Nope. Open sesame. Well, bucket, it was nice knowing you. Here we go.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
No.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator.
What the fuck?
As Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant,
What in the Doctor
the
Who?
bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently
The
to
bucket!
death.
The bucket, that's the bucket's narrator. What in the Doctor Who? The narrator just regenerated.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest.
I would kill
It
to
was
play
a
the Doctor.
glorious bucket to behold.
The bucket. Welcome to the...
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own?
Hey, where did my
Can you
bucket
see
go?
the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley
Inferno.
will ever be in his short life?
Worrying, negative forecasting, negative thinking, lack of reinsurance. That's very educational. God damn, this bucket goes back.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
No.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die.
What?
Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't restart
No.
the game.
No.
Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket.
No.
We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements.
No.
If only we let Stanley die together. The
No.
bucket shall take
I will
his
not
place as
die.
ruler, as
I will
owner,
not
as
die.
commander of a new
I'm
world,
gonna
a
die.
new vision for
Ow! Oh my god. I can't get that now. No! Alright, I'll do it
When
again.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Do it again, just with no bucket, unfortunately.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Kill surprise.
I mean, makes my job easier.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Well, in fact, I do not.
The door
have a
behind
bucket,
him was not shut.
meaning,
Stanley
in fact,
still had
the lady
every
will
opportunity
not
to turn
want
around
to kill
and
me
get
because
back
I have
on
a
track.
bucket. Unless she
At
remembers
this
me
point,
from other
Stanley
universes.
was making a conscious,
I
concerted
had
effort to
the
walk
bucket.
forward and willingly confront his death. As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in
See,
his
I
narrow
told you
vision
guys.
of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great
No bucket,
loss,
no death.
like plucking the eyeballs from a blind
Actually,
man.
wait.
So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life.
Wait, she doesn't set me free
Farewell,
because
Stanley.
she doesn't set me free because I don't have a bucket. I'm dead.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into
Narrator.
the enormous metal jaws. In
Or
a single
I'm
visceral
alive.
instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can
Yeah,
walk
see?
has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Warzone. Fighting aliens. I would have probably found that ending really funny. Huh. So we've gotten the confusion ending.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game.
Okay. So, that was most of the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. I will be returning this probably at a different time, as in I cannot return this game like my original choice was to be, because I probably wasn't going to play this much more. But I am going to play this much more, either way, because it's fun. I still have more of the story to go. So So, if you do want to see more Stanley Parable, do make sure you like and subscribe. If you would like to see some other content I'm working on regarding a little fun game called Call of Duty Zombies, make sure you like and subscribe here and go to my Plus channel, XC Waterway Plus, and like and subscribe there to get yourself some amazing Call of Duty Zombies content. That will not be here, that will be over there. So, I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.